And it kind of looks like we're live. I don't know how I managed
Yeah,
to get that going. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. I think I just got over my fifth round of COVID, but I'm doing good.
Oh,
So,
you're coming out of your fifth round of COVID, huh? Well,
yeah. I've
you
been
got
down for a couple of days, so I still sound like it a little bit, but I'm doing good now. So,
well, you have kids in school age, right? So that's easier to be infected with all kinds of stuff. I'm so
yeah,
old
it just
now.
kind of bounces around, and I got three of them all about the same age. So what's funny is one of them gets sick, and then they get better, and then another one gets sick, and they get better. It just kind of like keeps it going. One of them's
Absolutely,
always sick. So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
my problem is now that I've gotten older. If we don't leave the house, I don't really see a lot of people.
yeah.
Of course, that has its advantages because you don't get infected with all kinds of viruses and stuff like that. So that's
Yeah, I
good.
gotcha.
All
Gotcha.
right. Well, hey, there was one thing I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about, and that is kind of our latest creation here at ESL and our companies, and that is this detail managers course that we're
Yeah.
running now. Do you want to spend a minute or two and talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think that's why we kind of come up with it was that gap. One of the things that I always struggled with was not finding people to work details, but finding people to run them, finding people to manage them. And when I say struggling to find people, it means struggling to find the people that have the understanding that can run a detail at that level and work with clients and integrate both all sides, all facets of it. The budgeting side, the invoicing side, all of the management concepts that go into it. So yeah, I think it's a great
It's
thing that we're pushing out. Very well received so far, and
Yeah.
it fills that void. I don't really see much of that elsewhere at all.
No,
So
I think in general, for as long as I've been in this business, and sometimes it feels like forever, right? It's always been like you train to obtain the actual EP skills. You
mhm.
train to do, and we can call them the hard skills or we can call them the soft skills. It doesn't really matter, but you train to obtain those. Then you finally get on a team, and whenever this team sends you to train, it's mostly sustainment training, right? Because it's another driving course, it's another medical course, it's another shooting course, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's needed, but at some point, it's also important that you kind of learn the skills of what it takes to actually run and manage a detail. And one of the things that I don't think a lot of people think about is when we say detail manager course, everybody thinks that you're a manager, and you are, right? Because you're kind of a two-level manager in EP. Because if you go out and you run a team, well, you're the team leader, you're the detail leader, you're the manager of that detail. But at the same time, there's also people who's a manager at the corporation, at the private family office, and whatever that actually manage the other people. So it's kind of a two-prong when we say detail manager course. Don't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good for anybody that is looking to see that higher level of how to run and manage a detail, whether you're an actual manager in a corporation, full-time employee managing vendors, or you're, like you said, just kind of moving up. I mean, even if you're looking to kind of advance yourself, I mean, I would love to see that on a resume. If I was looking to hire somebody and they've not only taken all of the base foundational EP courses,
Uh-huh.
but they've taken some management level courses, that'd be awesome. Like I said, I don't really see that anywhere.
No,
So yeah,
no, I think it is really one of those things that can set somebody aside, right, and give them a leg up. And what I like about this is that it's typically not a course that's for open enrollment, right? And and it is, but to get on as an open enrollment person, you have to have a job in EP, right?
yeah,
You have to be an EP operator at a certain level. So it's not to be arrogant or whatever. It's more to set the tone of the course. It's not open for anybody. We have kind of a right of refusal, and we only let people in on the open enrollment part that actually want to do that and have the skills to do it. But at the same time, most of these courses are actually run for teams that already works, right? Which means that it's catered to their level. So it's not like you run a team that has a relatively high level and you come to us to learn how to evacuate the client for this course here. It's
right,
way
right,
different. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the
Well,
high level stuff. And it's the stuff that jams people up. I mean, you see details grow and the friction points they have, on the now, like, again, like managing vendors and setting, scopes of work for vendors and just all the budgeting and all of those other things that go along with it. Dealing with team burnout, complacency, training time versus op tempo, so many things that, I think that, just sharing our experiences going through that with teams that have grown, I think that that's hugely beneficial to pretty much everybody. But I like the idea that, we do vet people that come because we want them on the same page. We don't want to have, field questions in class of, like you said, how to cover and evacuate a principal when we're trying to talk about, the stuff that should already be, or not talk about the stuff that should already be known,
No,
we want to be at that level.
But there's a big difference in being able to write or articulate kind of like your expectations from the vendor that you hire and actually receive service at that level versus go out and play around and evacuate the principal. And again, not declining that skill because that's probably one of the most important that we have. This is just a different kind of like level of training. So yeah, I'm excited about it, and it's up and running and stuff like that. And I think we're going to do a lot of these. I really do.
I think we're going to do that rollout that we talked about through the major cities, and it's going to be good. I think it'll be a much needed thing in the industry. Kind of like a lot of the other things that we talked about training on, like defensive tactics, and incorporating stuff like that, like we saw recently in San Jose. The need for defensive tactics. Yeah.
Well, that's probably, I hate being a backseat quarterback, and I hate comment on stuff where I wasn't there myself, right? So these comments, don't take them the wrong way. It's kind of based on what I see on a video, right? But it's really interesting to me because one of the things that I always taught and was always taught, and the way that I look at EP is like our main job as an EP agent is to avoid any kind of danger, right? So getting into an argument with somebody on a street as an EP agent that leads to some kind of a physical confrontation, you have already lost, in my opinion, right? So for me, it's always been avoid problems. If you can't avoid them, try to escape from problems, because this is not about my manlyhood. It's not about me being strongest. It's about me getting the principal off the X and get him out of there. And if I have to use my defensive tactics skills or my weapon or whatever it is, I use it and then I evacuate my client. So for me, it's always been avoid, escape, confront, and right after confrontation, escape or get to safety, right? And it looks like this guy in this video completely missed it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think, so many people lose sight of that client focus when something happens. Because of our history, because of what we've done before. I'm almost certain this person was a law enforcement officer, so of course they have that entire background with them to, I always say get the collar, like get the person arrested, and that's what their focus has been on through their professional career, and now it's not. Now it's on the client, and I think that until you really train that with repetition, with some stress, I think it doesn't sink in. And so, doing those things like defensive tactics scenario drills where you actually have a scenario set up and something like that happens, we see students make that same mistake in class and then they're like, oh, wow, I really messed that up. And we'll run it back in a different way. And then they get it, and then they understand that it's, like you said, prepare, avoid, escape, confront, escape. And then all of that is focused on the client. All of that is focused on the client. Even if you have to fight, like I remember this from your book, even if you have to fight, do it right, and then get back to flight. So I like that phrase a lot from your book.
No, because on this video, I think the whole video is about 3 minutes long. Forgive me if I don't have it. I'm sure for the listeners, it's on YouTube if you haven't seen it. It's the mayor of San Jose who's giving a speech out on one of the streets. A person comes up and starts talking shit while they're on live camera. The EP agent tries to de-escalate first, and it turns into a shuffle. And then the shuffle goes on for 2-3 minutes with no clear winner. And it actually looks really bad because the focus get off the mayor, get on the shuffle, and the EP guy is not the clear winner of this shuffle. It's kind of like throwing fists and trying to push each other back and forth. And it goes on for almost 3 minutes where the mayor is left totally unattended out on the street. And one thing we learn is that this is definitely a one-man detail, right? And if you're on a one-man detail, it's even more important that you understand your priorities, because had you been on a two-man detail, yes, maybe one of you guys could get this guy arrested while the other one took care of the safety of the mayor. But that's definitely not what it looks like on this video.
No, doesn't look like it. And it's such a great point to watch it, because I think even if you don't know what you're looking at, I actually saw, a good buddy of ours, Tim, he posted it, and somebody commented on it who her title on LinkedIn is in human resources. And she had these comments that I was like, wow, like those were actually really good comments. The way she broke it down, she said, shouldn't you focus on your client? Shouldn't he have signaled to his client to get out of there and go inside? Shouldn't he have focused on his client? And I was like, wow, even somebody that, doesn't, have the EP background can kind of see it, know it's not right, and kind of figure out what right would have been. So I think that I'm really thankful it happened, because it's such a good video to drive that point home, really, without anybody getting seriously hurt, So I think that's
there's that. And then the other thing, it's also a question again about EP agents maybe understand their own limitations, right?
Sure.
I mean, one of the things that I see a lot is a lot of details don't have a lot of defensive training or defensive tactics training. Typically, we see a lot of firearms training if you carry a gun, but it's kind of rare that somebody have a well-designed defensive tactics program. I don't know why. I tried to figure it out for years, but looking at what the EP agent is trying to do in the background here, it's kind of like he's keeping the fight going instead of trying to get away from the person, which makes it even worse to watch. And if you watch the bystanders, which is clearly the mayor's entourage, they're kind of shocked and trying to step in the middle between the mayor and the fight to create a wall, or kind of, at least that's what it looks like to me. I don't know what you think, but it kind of looks bad all the way around.
Sure.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure it's on YouTube, and it's definitely something to watch for. Is that part of Joe, when you do your basic EP classes in La Sorsa? Do you guys do scenarios like this?
We incorporated some defensive tactics concepts of, when you're solo, when you're working with a team, how to communicate, how to signal, how to work things, whoever's closest to the principal, whoever's the body man, what do they do versus the other agents. So it's a very important thing to bring up, at least in our class. It's, it's a 9-day course overall, 5-day for the EP. So we can only really open people's eyes to certain things. And we tell them that something like defensive tactics needs to be part of your sustainment training. So not everybody's going to become a black belt, that's for sure. That's just, impossible. But at least we need to be able to train those things. So that way that mindset is there to just, flip into that switch, because I think you said we need to understand our limitations. Well, one of the limitations, I think most of the people in the industry, being A-types, grossly overestimate is their fighting ability. Yeah. And so it just kind of opens your eyes to, we're not black belts, and the stuff that you see doesn't work on the street necessarily. The stuff that you think is cool doesn't work on the street. So, you got to really, put that time in to figure it out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the other thing, at least this guy doesn't run out of cardio, right? Because cardio is the other killer. Well, sometimes people overestimate themselves on that, right? And this guy's in a suit and tie, which is not fighting attire to begin with, right? So at least he looks like he's in good shape. And I like what you said about when you come to an EP class, and especially if you're a first time goer to an EP class, you're so focused on being good at the hard skills, because that's typically the background we all come from. But when you get on a team and you all of a sudden starts to travel and you get a high operational tempo and whatever else, sometimes we forget that what we do and one of the base functions is to get our clients off the X or get them out of harm's way and whatever. And it takes two things. It takes cardio, which I'm not saying everybody needs to be a marathon runner, but it's good for yourself to do some goals and say, as a minimum, I need to live up to this. And on top of that, whatever you trained in, whatever background got you into this, people always ask, what's the best martial arts for EP, or what's the best this and this and this. And I usually say to people that I can't tell you, but the best thing is what works for you, that you have an interest in training, right? Yeah. And then you understand the whole thing of letting go and kind of move on and don't drag it out into a long fight.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's good stuff though. Great video. And, getting back to it, I think, training on the things that people commonly don't is important if they're that critical to a team, like management skills and defensive tactics. So, I like where we're headed with the training that we're doing. And this detailed management course, I think, when we get it out there, which we will soon, open enrollment in various cities, I think it's going to get a lot of interest. I think it's going to get a lot of support with that, because I think it'll kind of open their eyes to, there's nothing really advanced with EP. It's just the brilliance and the basics. And this just moves it along to what people don't train, don't know what to do with when they get into that management level. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I've always said that I don't know for everybody, but I would say 90 or 95% of the people that are in EP and have been here for a while typically come from some kind of a background, right? Which be law enforcement, military, security, even being athletes, or something that has some kind of a physical aspect to it, right? I haven't met a lot of people who come into this to become a supervisor or come with a great set of supervisory or leadership skills. Right. Typically, we see a lot of people who are agents, and then some people evolve, and they want to be like detail managers or high-level EP managers in corporations, and then all of a sudden they have responsibility for the whole team and the whole set of finances and whatever. And there's no kind of like area specific training for them. So I think this is an important niche to hit, right?
Absolutely. Especially for the non-big companies. I mean, I know a couple of big companies that have some training pipelines to teach them how that company wants them to do things. But for the family offices, for the corporations, absolutely not. Nothing like this exists out there. So I think it's a good thing we're doing for sure.
And what how about how since we're talking about this live, what's our timeline on this? When do you think we have information ready on the website and to send out and stuff like this? I mean, we're running the courses already, but we're a little behind on kind of showcasing it. How far away do you think we are from having it up?
A couple of weeks. I think we'll have it up, on the website and posted, and we'll have some dates on the calendar, probably by mid-May, by the latest. Yeah.
Okay, and we for the people listening, if they have any interest, they can find it on our ESL website.
And social media, we put it out there too. Yeah.
On social media. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. All right. Well, just wanted to check in with you here on Friday. It's raining in Vegas, so it's really no fun. Kind of rare, but it does today. So I guess the video or the weekend will be an inside weekend here. But good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
You got anything you want to add before I hang up here?
No, good to go. Just I'm excited for this, and like I said, when we put it out there, if anyone has any questions or anything else, ask them, because really knowing what the course entails, you'll see the value in it. So make sure you read through it, ask the questions, and hopefully we'll see you out there.
Oh, actually, before we hang up, I wanted to do one shameless plug. I don't know if anybody has on social media channels seen this What Would You Do series of videos that Joe and I does. If you haven't already, you can go to ESL's YouTube channel, where we have, 12 or 15 up already. And the plan is that we put one out, every 2 weeks or something?
Yes.
And it's kind of the questions that are a little controversial, or the questions that we all get that can be a little bit hard to answer. And if you're listening to this and you have some questions that you want me and Joe to kind of try and tackle in some of these What Would You Do videos, hit us up. Send us a DM or a private message or an email, or text us or whatever, and we will try to get it in. We always have a little bit of a stockpile of videos, so it might take a while for us to get to it. Unless it's really good, then we can put it in front. But shoot us a video with it, and I think it could be fun if some of this came from you guys.
Yeah.
What do you think about that whole thing, Joe?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I really like those videos, and that's where a lot of the ideas come from. People that ask questions in class, or stuff I see on Facebook or something. So yeah, if anyone has any ideas, send it, and you'll hear us talk about it.
Perfect. All right. Well, hey, I was told by our social media people that we need to keep this under 20 minutes, and that's right where we are. So if you don't have anything else, Joe, I think I'm going to end the live streaming here, and I'll speak to you later.
Yeah, good deal. All right, see you.
All right. Take care. See you, buddy.